I'm a custom home builder that is still working towards landing my first custom home. I started my company full-time last summer in 2023 doing remodels and additions. So I'm a treadmill operator, and this August I was actually able to hire my first employee. And this year we're going to have completed just about $1 million in top-line revenue.
Good for you.
So my question is, I've always heard the phrase "the customer is always right."
No, they're
not. I discovered that recently. Actually, I had a situation where my customer was very wrong, and I'm a contractor, and they hired me. They were wrong about something I knew I was right about, and I started thinking about this because they told me, "Well, I'm right because I'm the customer," and so I don't know. What's your opinion on the customer is always right, and how do you handle unreasonable customers while maintaining excellent customer service without letting them walk all over you?
Well, in your case, I've been around your world most of my life. My dad was building houses when I was 12 years old, and I built several custom homes, Sharon and I have, with builders and so forth. In your case, you have to set the table properly at the beginning of the relationship. And so here's, for this project to be successful and you to be happy, I have to be on time. I have to be on budget. I have to be high quality. And then you're going to walk in here and have a wonderful experience. And so if I do those things, we're there. What I need from you is, we're going to have several points in this remodel or in this custom build where there are selections that have to be done. And I need you to do those early in every case. If the selections are early, everything's on time, on budget, I can install what you have picked properly, and you're going to be happy. The second thing is, we're going to do a blueprint that details out exactly what you want here. And we need to work the snot out of this blueprint before we drive a nail.
Mm.
Because it's really cheap to change things on blueprints. It's very expensive to tear walls out because after I build it, you decide you don't like it.
That's true.
Okay? Change orders are super expensive, and they slow the project down dramatically, and they increase your level of frustration and me and my subs' frustration. So we're going to have some changes. It's part of a project, but we need to minimize those because, as Dr. Stephen Covey said in The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, we need to begin with the end in mind. Now, we're going to manage this project, ladies and gentlemen, with 3 pieces of paper. The blueprint that we've beat the snot out of, and then we're going to develop a detailed budget that you know exactly what your allowances are for carpet and flooring, exactly what your allowances are for lighting and appliances, and you're going to know exactly the quality of roof we're putting on, and we're going to go through every line item of the budget so that there are no financial surprises or quality surprises. Before we drive a nail, we're going to have the blueprint that's had the snot beat out of it. We're going to have the budget that's not had the snot beat out of it. And then I'm going to run you a spreadsheet showing when each of the subcontractors and suppliers will be on site and showing you exactly what our schedule is. And so when we break ground, I can show you that 9 months and 4 days later, the trim carpenter will be on site. And we can tell if we're running early on schedule or behind on schedule. We can tell if we've changed something on the blueprint or we haven't. And we can tell if we are on budget or not on this. And so I just built a multiplied $1 million house, okay? I moved in the summer. We were 2% off of budget, and we were 2 months early. And my custom home builder was absolutely incredible. My wife and decorator were early on the selections. but I was the one driving some of this, and the builder was the one driving some of it. But we had all of the project guidelines for what happiness looks like outlined in detail before we drove a nail. And then we can just align to that. Okay, wait a minute, we got some weather problems, so we're having trouble getting out of the ground. Or we've got, the supply chain's messed up on the windows, and that's messing us up. We can adjust back and forth, and then everyone's not personally angry with the other person. Okay, so you're running a project. It's project management is what you're doing when you're building, and when you do that, and I've done that with a $10 million house. I've done that with a $100 million commercial building. And it's the exact same thing when you're dealing with a huge commercial contractor, architectural firm, engineering firm, the subs that are unbelievably world-class at their trades, and yet everyone needs to be dancing to the exact same sheet of music. Otherwise, somebody's pissed off all the time. Now, when you're laying all of that out is when you decide if you want them as a customer. I personally will tell you, and you probably already know this, all your drama is going to come from people that won't do the things I just laid out. If they want to just go, hey, just put me a thing over there and I'll be back from California in 6 months and see it. I'll send you some money. I don't want that guy. Because we are not aligned on what that thing is. You can't have a 10-minute conversation with a yellow pad and fly off and not come back for 6 months and be anything but pissed.
Yeah, they forget a lot of things between...
well, they have no idea what you've been doing during the 6 months or what it cost or how much crap, and you had to make decisions for them because they didn't make them.
Yeah.
Those are nightmare customers. I don't want them. Or if you sit down and just trying to get it on paper, on budget, get the budget done, get the schedule done, but more importantly, get the blueprint done, you can detect then if these are idiots. I mean, you just go, I'm not spending 6 months of my life with this guy.
So you spend time sort of setting up.
You set the emotional,
detailed.
Yeah, you set the emotional and relational stuff at the front end, and then there's not a problem.
And that sort of vets them for you.
Yeah. And I did that in reverse with my builder this last time, my residential builder. I said, hey man, look, all I want is us sticking to these 3 pieces of paper, and every time I come over there, I want to see the whole street full of cars. I want to see subcontractors crawling over this thing like an anthill all the time so that I know we're at least early or on track on our schedule. If I come over there a week and there's not been anybody over there in a week, I'm going to be pissed. I'll just go ahead and tell you ahead of time. So you need to keep people working. You need to drive the dadgum lane, put the ball in the hoop. And we talked about this in January before we broke ground in May. That makes sense?
Yeah, so
it helped me a lot.
Say, well, I don't do that or not.
Yeah, and you go, well, I don't. But most people don't set the thing. You thought you were in the what you are is you're managing their expectations, and everybody's coming to an agreed set of expectations because the secret to happiness is lower expectations, right? So when people don't get what they thought they were going to get, it's when they're angry, unless they're a head case, in which case you don't want them anyway.
Sure.
But if you'll find out who's a head case on the front end, and you say, you know what, I got a friend that's in the business, I think you probably ought to go work with them. He does. They do psychological training as well as building. It's like I don't want you. It's right. I don't say it. I just don't want to deal with you. Life's because they're. But most people that have a bad experience with their builder is because they did not manage to those 3 pieces of paper, and they did not set the table on the front end of the experience properly.
I'm thinking of some examples where I did that actually this past summer, and it caused me a lot of grief. So what's your recommendation, like once you find yourself in that spot, as a business owner or builder, how do you work through it and, maintain a professional relationship with this person still?
I'll just go back to the original discussion. I go back to the original discussion. This is what we said we were going to do. We said we were going to manage these 3 pieces of paper, and that's exactly what I'm doing. To the extent you're off of these 3 pieces of paper that we agreed to on the front end, we're going to be our guidance. the budget, the schedule, and the blueprint. To the extent we're off of that, I can't manage the job, and I certainly can't manage you.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to have a conversation with them, not in front of the subs, not in front of their spouse, but just pull them off the side and go, listen, here's where we are. But the people that I know that hate their builder after it's done are because one of those three things didn't happen. Or their builder didn't manage the decorator. The decorator comes in and decides they are running the show, and all of a sudden everything's double the budget. Again, we're not managing to the three things. But I've had to sit down and, tell the decorator, tell my wife, listen, here's what we all agreed to up front. Decorator was in on the front end. They saw the budget too. It didn't change. And you can't go, well, the light fixture's not going to be in for 7 months. Well, that means you picked the wrong light fixture because it doesn't fit our schedule. You'll have to go get a different light fixture. And I told the lighting lady, we're not buying a light fixture. I'm not going 7 months with a bulb up there while I wait on your stuff to deliver. No, you pick a fixture that'll be here on time, or you've picked, by definition, the wrong fixture. Magically, they found the fixture in another city and shipped it in. It was magic. It was amazing. That really happened.
Yeah.
But that's the kind of crap you deal with every day, right?
It is. And I like where you're going. Like I can control the blueprint, budget, and schedule as a builder. I can't control everything.
I can't control the weather. I can't control a sub. Can't control a sub that won't show up, but I can fire him because he's messing up my schedule. He's messing up my schedule or my budget. The sub's got to help me get the job done.
That's right.
And I'll just get it. Electricians, running around doing something other than being an electrician, apparently. So we're going to have to get a different one, right?
Yeah.
Whatever it is. I mean, all this stuff. I've seen it for 30 years. It's all the time. Everybody's got some dadgum drama or excuse why they can't get their work done. And your job is herding cats. That's what you do. And one of the cats happens to be the owner. So I'll give you an example. If you're gonna have disappointing news, bring it early. As soon as you know it, bring it to them. I just heard this. I think I've got a fix for it, but I want you to know this particular thing's up in the air. I can't get this light fixture. And I'm like, oh, okay, I can help with that. I'll change the light fixture. I'll help you solve it.
Instead of after waiting 3 months.
Yeah, they go, I'm getting ready to do my walkthrough, and I got a dadgum bulb up there. That ain't going to cut it. So bring me the information, and I'll, So go in and say, listen, I can help solve this. How do you want to work this? Here's the thing that's come up that's messing with one of our 3 pieces of paper. It's messing with my schedule, my budget, or my blueprint. Because you and I know that on a residential, a blueprint is never 100%.
Oh, my gosh, yeah.
Because you get up there and the header wall doesn't line up or something, and you got the carpenter, y'all are standing up there with a claw hammer scratching your head figuring out how to make that rafter actually line up with that header. You know exactly what I'm talking about because the architect didn't even think about that weird corner there, and so we got to box that sucker in somehow. Okay, what are we going to do? We moved a set of stairs on one of ours on a deck because when we actually started putting it in, it looked weird. We're like, okay, just don't put them there. Put them over there. Well, that wasn't even a change order. It was a 30-second decision, right? But you didn't know that for the blueprint until we're on site. And we called the architect and told him, he went, yeah, I think you're probably right. Okay, good. They're moved. Glad you think that. So all that kind of stuff. But it's all this communication. But a baseline, the plumb line the level that you're snapping the chalk line to is those 3 pieces of paper and our original conversation. Our original conversation is your job's keep the money coming to me on schedule, keep your selections on schedule, and if you're going to go over on one of these budgets or constantly do change orders, you're going to affect the budget, you're going to affect the delivery date, and you're going to affect everything. And so I built a house one time for $4.2 million. That was huge back in the day. The people across the street built a home slightly smaller. It took them 18 months longer, and it was $8.6 million. It was smaller because they built it by change order. The change orders were as thick as an old-fashioned phone book when they got done. And so they made it up as they did it. And it's super expensive, it's super slow, and everybody's super pissed the whole time. That's the way it works. So you just can't do that, man. That's how, this is the deal. That's the deal. I love this business. You're in a great business, Drew, by the way, because very few people can do what you and I were just talking about in that business. And if you can do that, you're going to be head and shoulders above all your competition. Very cool. Good stuff. Very, very good stuff.